give me some feedback. And she said no. So she said no. So, all right, hey guys, Arsena here, and for today's video, I am taking you behind the scenes with me on a podcast interview. And this interview is actually a throwback. It's near and dear to me because it was shot the day that my father actually passed, and I did not know that. It's really crazy because we had a somewhat tumultuous relationship, and I never talked about him in interviews, but for some odd reason, I decided to start talking about him in this interview. And so it's just very serendipitous. Also, you're going to see Tim Scott interviewing me, my former manager. He works for Center City Partners as the artist in residence. And so we're going to sit down and have a good chat since we know each other well and catch up on all things music. So I don't need headphones or anything?
All right. We are rolling, Tim. Ready, Tim?
Awesome. I got to make sure I don't have no sleep in my eye. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want it to go on the podcast. Sleep in my eye. Because people can see podcasts.
This is true.
You good, Brian?
We're good.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a new season of the Sessions on 16 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tim Scott. Today, kicking us off, we have a very, very special guest, somebody very close, near and dear to my heart, and very near and dear to the Charlotte community's heart as a whole. Somebody who does a lot for the community and who has been a crazy example of what true artistry is and should look like. So it's going to be a good one. Everybody, welcome Arsena.
Hey.
What's going on with you, man?
Hey, Tim.
How are you?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day. Feeling good.
So another day of metamorphosizing.
Every day. We evolve every day. It's an ongoing metamorphosis.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Nah, man, I'm super, super, super happy to have you here. In some of our previous interviews, we've had a lot of conversations with artists about their journeys, but I cannot say that I've had any conversations where I know somebody personally and what their journey has been like that matches with yours. You've had a very unique journey, yourself, and what you've been able to build, what you've been able to accomplish, and what you've created for yourself as a solo artist, and what you've created as a community is a lot to be spoken for. So let's just start at the beginning. Like let's talk about your journey. I know you're from Pittsburgh originally, so tell us about your journey getting here and how you kind of built what you've built here.
So, yeah, I am from Pittsburgh, and I moved here when I was 5, so it doesn't really count.
No,
They dropped me off in Pittsburgh, and I could not get around or tell you anything other than go Steelers.
I'm not a Steelers fan.
But we moved here, my mom and I and my uncle, when I was 5. And to think that I'm still here is kind of crazy, but I've gone different places and done different things. I never thought I would do music. My biological father was a musician, and I met him shortly for the first time ever after coming to Charlotte. Yeah, and I remember one time, I was about 8 or so. This is after I met him maybe around 5 or 6, but when I was 8, he was coming through town driving up to the Apollo, and I begged my mom. I'm like, please, I really want to go. Can I go? I want to go. So my mom's like, you can go, but I'm going too. So she grabbed her suitcase, and he was taking an artist that he was managing at the time to go perform at amateur night. So I got to go to the Apollo at 8, but I don't think it ever clicked that I would do music and be an artist.
This was just about the experience with him.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's just been a journey.
That's super dope. So what was the thing that kind of sparked that for you?
So I wouldn't say high school sparked it, but I did start to at least start learning about music and singing in choir my senior year of high school. And I was in the alto section, and I thought, oh wow, you have a part to sing and don't sing that part. And that doesn't work for me. I want to sing all the parts. I'm still like that. I want to sing everybody's part. So it didn't click then, but then my freshman year of college, one of my classmates asked me to be on his mixtape.
Where'd you go?
I went to Pfeiffer for undergrad,
Okay.
the one in Meisenheimer, Pfeiffer University, Pfeiffer Falcons, Blue Trap. But so he asked me to be on the mixtape, and I'm like, I don't sing, I don't do music, I'm always messing around. And he just really believed in me. He said,
Right.
You can do it. Write your verse. And so I wrote my verse, and it was just such a therapeutic experience, being able to express myself through song. We recorded it in his dorm room. I'm like in the small room, like trying to sing, and just the whole.
So
project.
you weren't even playing at the time yet. So your intro, I guess, to like your artistry was like not only being asked to sing on record for the first time, but even like having to like write your own verse.
Yeah.
Word. So like, was that a thing for you before? Like, was there like were you like really into like creative writing or
Nope.
poetry, anything like that? So this is just like, my man was like, oh, I think you should be on my record, and I also think you should write your own part. I'm not about to hold your head.
Yeah.
You gonna do this, but
Come on, business major. I was like, I didn't stay as a business major, but I was a business major. My mind was strictly like, I'm gonna take over the world and work in corporate America. It was the furthest thing. So when he asked me, I'm like, but I loved it so much, and so that really changed my path. I ended up changing my major, like not to music, but I changed it, and
wise choice.
Yeah, yeah, I'm so glad. But it really opened up my mind to just a completely different path that I wasn't considering before. So.
Word. So what was the So you said you changed your major after that, but like, what was the next step after that? Like.
The next step, I was involved in church a lot, so I was at the time in DC for a semester of school, and I was going to a church, so I asked the worship leader to like help me. I wrote these songs, can you look over them, give me some feedback? And she said no. So she said no. So I went on Guitar Center and ordered a guitar, ordered a DVD, and I just thought I'm gonna have to figure this out myself. So I started learning guitar, but writing songs while I was learning. And so that was kind of the next step after my mixtape episode, was to sit down, learn an instrument, and while learning it, I was writing music.
So you taught yourself guitar first?
Yes, me and that DVD.
What about piano? Because I know you play piano too. Like, how long after all that did piano come into the?
Piano came much later. I would say, so this was 2009 when I started with guitar, and I don't think I got to piano to maybe 2015, 16, probably 2016. Yeah,
Gotcha,
so it took a while. And I did with guitar and piano. I took lessons here and there, but for the most part, I'm just winging it.
Yeah. No. Okay. So you got your DVD.
Yes.
You got your guitar, and you start learning. Start teaching yourself guitar. Were you taking like class? Like, I know you weren't majoring in music in college, but like, did you start taking like any classes? Like,
I did try to take, which is so funny because I teach a beginner guitar workshop now, but that's probably because I took beginner guitar in college, and I was like, nah, you're taking all the fun out of the fun. Don't take the fun out. But then when I was going to go to grad school, I figured I need to go back and get that incomplete off my transcript. So I retook it, and it was fine then, which kind of helped me today figure out how do you teach people who maybe haven't been taking lessons since they were 4 or 5, and also make sure we don't become so like, I don't know, like it's a sport, treat it like a sport versus a creative tool is how I approached it. So I did try that, but that wasn't really my way.
what about like choir wise? You like take like a chorus class, you take voice lessons with whoever the voice instructor was at the school? Nothing?
No, I did try private lessons, but they told me I was fine, which I was not fine, but they were like, there's nothing I could teach you. My dad did give me...
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Like, how are you going to fire me from your gig? So my dad did teach me things though. So he
Mhm.
taught me some fundamentals. It was usually over the phone, but I would sit and sing, and he would critique me, give me feedback, tell me how to do vocal care and different things. So I think because I had those tools in my belt, it helped me. And then just gigging out regularly and recording yourself,
Yeah.
just started to, life becomes the classroom. So.
Mm-hmm. Nah, it's funny that you said that because, like, having had like the journey of like starting playing in church, like at a super young age, and then not really getting into the school side of things until like middle school, and then like kind of having like that culture shock of like, oh, y'all write this down.
Yeah.
What do you mean read it?
Yeah.
Ain't no words to the drums. I don't know what she She said read my part. There are no words. You boom. It's
Boom cap.
You know what I mean? So I'm not like that was that was a its own thing, and then going into jazz made it a whole different thing.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah.
And then going to college from that, like I was cool by the time I got to college, obviously, just because I had to immerse myself in it, like throughout middle school and high school. But it's funny, I didn't think about it until after I was done with college, like how different like the entry points are. You know what I'm saying? For like people coming in from different areas in their musical journey and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Different
I already felt like an outsider, like as a middle school. You know what I'm saying? Like as a
Middle
schooler.
School?
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Like just because I was coming out of church. You know what I'm saying? So there was already like
Culture shock.
you know what I mean? Like there was already such a big difference between what my foundation was and some of these cats who was, 12, 13 years old playing like John Coltrane transcriptions note for note. You know what I mean? Like Miles Davis, like the other kid who was like the drummer who was like 1 year older than me. He just got back from playing the Modern Drummer Festival, like as a feature performer. You know what I'm saying? Like shout out to Mike D'Angelo. I can't stand your guts, man. You're one of my best friends. I love you, bro. But yeah, but that's what I was walking into. So it was like crazy. So, but at least because it was an educational environment, I had the opportunity to catch up and build relationships throughout that to kind of help me catch up. But it wasn't until I was done with college that I thought about like the different entryways, or sad to say, like the lack of different entryways. You know what I'm saying? Because like I got, I was super lucky to have gone to, college in a place where there was so much music around outside of just the school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, then the more into all this stuff you get and the more you're into, you realize how different the classes of thinking are, even amongst musicians. You know what I'm saying? Like people who were, classical students didn't think about music the same way the jazz students, thought about music. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And obviously the jazz people didn't really think about music the same way gospel people did. And then, starting to tour R&B and touring hip hop, and those musicians don't think about music the same way the R&B cat. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody had like their like different ways and different approaches, and then it's just wild, and you don't really think about that a lot of times when you're like in the midst of it. But like getting a chance to like be kind of outside looking in, it's like really dope. So all that to say, like it's crazy how that kind of like helped shape what you're doing now as far as like the new, like how you approach being an instructor. So I would assume that has like a lot to do with like even a lot of the work that you're doing now, even not just like the private instruction, but like some of the more community work that you do in the music community. So how did all that come about? So like what's the journey between college Arsena, learning off of DVDs, and like the Arsena that
I went
popped up in Charlotte and took over?
So I went from that, learning to songwrite, and just really feeling like I was going to grad school because at the time, just because that's the next thing you do, and I had a scholarship, but it did not resonate with me. It was not to study music. It was some random degree. And so I decided I'm not going to do this. I'm going to pursue music. So because I had been a business student and I've always had an entrepreneurial bone in my body, I started applying those business concepts to doing music and working for myself. So I immediately went into crowdfunding, which is not something you just jump into with no experience, but I did, and I failed beautifully, you know. And I crowdfunded. I started setting up my own tours. I remember back then I'd have enough gas just to get to the first leg of the tour and then hope that you make enough at that show to get to the next city, and so on and so on. And then what I found is artists were reaching out to me, how'd you figure this out? How'd you do that? And, you know, I would give pointers here and there. But eventually I'm like, I'm giving out free information and I can't pay my rent. Here's my consultation fee. And there was no issue with that. So then I started consulting with artists and helping them strategize and applying business. So I've always had a business mind towards it, even though I am a creative, but it's a completely different approach, like you said, to this career. So that has just kind of evolved over time to be in a company to assist artists. But I still am an artist and I still have my music. So I wear these two hats between company owner and recording artist and singer-songwriter. But they all just are part of the same ecosystem. Yeah.
Word. So you were on, which record is this?
Right now I have my third full length.
Third full length. Okay, so what was the process? Tell us about your first record.
First record was a 4-song EP, and that was through the crowdfunding. So I went like right in. I had no recording experience, no nothing. I'm just like, I'm recording a project, and I wanted to do 6 songs, and I think I raised like a few $1,000s, so it was enough to do 4. And I hated it. It did not sound good. So that's the thing about crowdfunding, is you got to give them what you said you were going to do. Whereas, you know, with the traditional path, you might shelve that project, but I had to put it out, and I was eager to get to the next project to be like, I can do this. That was not my best. You know, I was experimenting. So I crowdfunded again to do a full-length album. And then going back to what you said about classical musicians, that album is where I started to realize everybody approaches it differently. I wanted cello. I had all these different ideas to take it to the next level. I found a cello player, for example. You
ain't have it written down.
I didn't have it written down, so I'm like, this is the key. This is the vibe. Do you, boo?
No. I need to go on paper.
You do you, and he's just looking at me like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, just feel it. Feel it. I didn't know the word improvise at the time. I'm like, this is the key. You don't know your scales, babe. Just go, So that's where I realized everyone is different. He is on the record, but when I tell you, he played the same 2 notes over and over and over. Yeah. So shout out to that first album, but
she want me to improvise. She ain't got none of this written down. You know
what?
I play the 1 and the 5.
And I don't necessarily play by ear. Because I'm a songwriter, so I write and I pass it off to more skilled musicians. But I thought he was,
yeah.
I thought that's just how. If you know your instrument like that, then you can play on anything. And that's where I learned everyone approaches this differently. And throughout the years I took lessons, but I had to leave, not all, but many, especially piano, because it can be like a sport. I had this Russian instructor for piano, and I would leave crying. I was a grown woman, and I would leave like, man, she's really trying my best.
She didn't slap your fingers with the ruler, did she?
It felt like it. In my mind and in my heart, I felt like she was, So I thought, for my mental health and, everything, I'm going to just wing it. But everyone does approach it differently. And I approach this industry differently, which is a big part of my journey. And with my dad having come from the industry and having, I don't know if you ever heard of Dance to the Drummer's Beat, but that was a song that he was a part of and sang lead vocals for. So he's coming from this side of industry. And then I'm on this side of like, independent, do your own thing, do what feels good.
Before that was even popular.
Yeah. See, everybody trying to get on it now, But, it's just how I think you should live life. So.
Yeah. Word. So the first record, it went, and then the second record.
So after the first record, I think I did 2 more EPs. Anchor Down Below EP and then the Quest EP. And those were experiments. I always experiment on my EPs. I'm working on an EP right now. It's just trying different things. And that's the first time I explored co-writing. So up until then, I had been writing everything by myself with an instrument. And this is when I started writing the tracks, top line writing, collaborating, and which really, in hindsight, helped me become a better songwriter.
Yeah.
I had a friend, Tara Jackson, help. We would throw off ideas for what I wanted, and she wrote really great hooks, which taught me how to write really good hooks. And she loved my verses. She had really beautiful, detailed verses, you know. So that was the next step. And then after that was the second full-length album, Sleep Talking, with Jason Jett. So that was around the time you and I were working together. So yeah, 2018.
So what was that process like? Like how did you and Jason even meet?
Oh, that's a good question. I had heard about Jason from a friend who just loved hearing him. She heard him at the Moorhead Tavern, and she said, "There's this guy. He sings R&B, and he had a violinist, and he's so dope." So I had heard about him, but I didn't know who he was. So I went one night to one of his events, and I think it was like a listening party or listening session. And afterwards, I went up to introduce myself, and he knew me. So I don't really know how we met. We just knew of each other because we were both doing our own thing. So from there, I just knew I wanted to work with him at some point. But crowdfunding again for that album, the producer I selected at the time was not delivering at all on what we were trying to do. And so Jason called me up and was like, I can help you with this. And we recorded that album in 3 months. I was at his house every day mostly, and we knocked it out, and it was a good project.
How did that process, so you say y'all got it done in 3 months, like how did that process differ from like everything you had done up until that point?
That at that time I was like, okay, we need to think about this industry. It's starting to sound very attractive with the cost of living going up. So we need to make these songs pop. So he brought in the element of taking my songs, because up until then they had been really live instrumentation driven. He brought in digital elements. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. And that's why, even today's performance, I did a little bit of tracks, a little bit of acoustic, because both of those are me. But yeah, that's what he brought to it, so that we could try to attract executives, which we did. I got 2 record deal offers that I did not take, so I guess I got cold feet. But that was a good experience, and just learning about, okay, he taught me so much without even realizing it about the business side as a recording artist, because up until that point I had been a singer-songwriter, doing acoustic this and that, and so yeah.
So for those songs, were you writing them first, and like you have like acoustic sketches of each one, and then he kind of like took what you had and just kind of expanded on it from there?
Yeah, exactly. All of them were written. And I do, with every album, I do at least one song that I did not write that is with the producer. And I hope I can always keep that going as an indie artist. So the first album, Patrick McKenna produced it. We did a song together. And with that album, we did a song, me and Jason, Heavenly, which is a collaboration. So, and it's really fun. It's like dancey. So getting me out of my element. This last album, Curtain, I did the same. So, yeah.
Word. Tell me about that. Like, tell me, because I know like you and Kurt have become really, really close. Like even like he's been like a big part of like even like the community work that you're doing, and I want to get into that too. Yeah. How did you two come together?
That was around the time you and I were working together. Okay. He just reached out after the album came out and asked me to open up for his album release. So I thought, sure, cool. And I opened up, and then that night I got to hear his music for the first time, which I thought was amazing. And we didn't jump into working together musically right away or professionally right away, but I did start having him come to our concert series and doing some of his music.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Word. And so when y'all did start working together? Like how did it all come together? Like when y'all started, working together. Like how did the idea form? Or was it like were y'all doing the classes and the community stuff first and the workshops first, and then it was like, we should do this?
I brought him into some, and then I think there was one, I don't know if he remembers this, but there's one night, he does a pass the mic at the end of most of his shows. But I was up there all screaming on his song, and, we was really having a good time, and I just thought there was a synergy there, but I don't think it was ever planned. I think I was going on tour, and I needed some music programmed and developed, and he did that. And then I did another EP that he offered to remix and revise. So I think we just kind of did little things here and there. Yeah, until he actually, was his idea. I wasn't going to do another album. It was his idea for me to do another album because I did not want to. So him, that's the answer.
Word.
Kurt. All Kurt.
So what was the process like for this particular record then?
This album,
because I know Kurt and Jason have two very different approaches to like how they create.
They do. They have two completely different approaches. Kurt is more, Jason, I like him because he's going to try to make you commercially viable, whereas Kurt, he's going to try to tap into who you are as a person. So you might sit and talk to him for an hour at a recording session before you even record anything. It's like therapy. So we worked on the album a total of 2+ years because, with Jason it's 3 months. With him it was longer, and my life was evolving, things were changing. So the songs we started out with, some of them are on there, and then the completely new ones were written as my life was evolving. I actually told him that. I said, I want to do a project called Metamorphosis, the Evolution of Arsena, but I need to evolve. I told him that, then the pandemic hit, songs started pouring out, my ex-husband started acting crazy, everything just started going, awry. So we had a whole new project, and we tried to do it as a live recording, and Kurt was just like, I don't think this is capturing all that this can be, so we decided to go in the studio and work on it, take our time, and really, really take our time. So I'm very happy with what we came up with.
Oh, that's awesome. And we heard some of that music today, so it was really, really dope. So for those of you who haven't heard it yet, stop dragging. Go get that.
Go get it.
So let's talk about like some of your your community work, like what you're doing like outside of your performance space, because like as far as things that separate you and kind of set you apart from what a lot of people are doing is you, like I said, going back to that entrepreneurial thing that you have, like you have done an amazing job of setting yourself up in all these different ways to where even when you're not performing or when you're not recording or the focus is not on like the artist and performer, like you always have things that you have going on. You always have your hands in what's moving. So how did that how has that evolved?
So talking about Pfeiffer, we used to joke all the time because they had this archway that said something lifelong learner, and we would like crack up all the time. They want us here all forever to be in debt. We would joke. However, it really did get in me, and I really enjoy learning. Like I don't think that's something we do college age or elementary age, or I just enjoy learning. I love to be a student of things, and so with my community work, I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur. I kind of got pushed into it. So the consults, like I said, just was a natural and just made sense. I got to stop giving away my ideas for free, and working for people for free. And with the concerts, I wanted to play rooms where people wanted to actually hear singer-songwriters' original music. There weren't a lot of places in Charlotte at the time. I felt like you were either background music at venues or people wanted to hear covers. I just did not feel like there were a lot of listening rooms where people can engage. And when I was on tour in other cities, people were having very fruitful house concerts, which I thought, that's interesting. Y'all are packing out people's house and just listening to their music and then donating, and they're making way more than they would at a club because there's no middleman, there's no sound guy, there's no, everything is just DIY. And so I paired those when I was touring with the public shows, and it just gave me a free place to stay too, public show and then a house concert. So I thought, let's start a series here in Charlotte, and I can host, and when there are artists on tour and they need a place to play, they can come play our show. If I need a place or someone else needs a place to play in their city, it's just kind of a barter. I'll hook you up when you're here, when I'm here. And we got to fan swap, and I mean, our first event, I did not expect that many people. We could not fit in the place we were at. I would ask a volunteer at the end of each show to raise their hand so the next show could be at their house that was hopefully bigger, until we just couldn't, it wasn't sustainable, so we moved into coffee shops, and then we ended up moving into community rec centers once I started partnering with the Arts and Science Council, and they started funding. So up until that point, it wasn't a business. I was actually spending my own money to rent chairs and get food and drinks, and really trying to make it, in my mind I said, this is my way of giving back, but I did not know that it would actually be like my bread and butter eventually. So yeah.
And how did the partnership with Arts and Science Council, like, how did that come about?
Listen, ASC is amazing because I had applied for individual artist grants, but I wasn't thinking of applying for these types of grants or funding. So they reached out to me, the director at the time. She said, I saw what you're doing, let's meet at a rec center. She talked me through the whole process. She said, I'll help you with your applications. And I got an application together, I sent it in as an artist, and she said, you really need to reapply as a business because you are a business and you have everything you need as a business. And so I reapplied, and that helped us to be able to get reoccurring funding rather than just a one-time thing.
Right.
So it was really ASC. They look out for artists in Charlotte.
That's
and even as she moved on, then the next director came in, and she looked out, and now they're looking for a new director, and I hope they're amazing. But yeah, they pulled me along with it.
Word. Oh, that's what's up. So, as somebody who has toured, has spent some time on the road and some other cities and other communities and stuff like that, like what do you see for yourself here in Charlotte, like as a future? Like, you see, like, you got some more time here, so some more things that you want to get done here, or are you starting to get that itch to
we all get the itch every other month. Something happens and we're like, you know what, I can live anywhere.
Right.
Anywhere. But we love Charlotte. It's like a bad boyfriend you can't break up with. So I don't know, to be honest. I'm working on my master's in music business right now, and that was totally to support my company, Dear Soul Music Co. But now I'm learning that there are so many different opportunities and ways that you can work and further this career or this profession. So I really do not know, but I know Charlotte will always be near and dear. And with technology and how it's advancing, you don't have to live in those cities to build sustainable careers. A lot of the people that support me don't live here. They support virtually through crowdfunding, like I said, or Patreon. I do virtual concerts, Zoom meetings, so where the world is going, I don't really think it's going to matter where you live as much. It might be cheaper to live somewhere else and then fly in to the industry cities as needed. And a lot of bigger artists started doing that during the pandemic anyway, so I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Gotcha. One of the things that I try to always do with these conversations, and I don't think many people understand this more than you would, but like, as performers, a lot of times our relationships with our audiences can be so one-dimensional. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times, and social media has had a lot to do with this kind of starting to change already, but like the mystique that comes with being an artist. And there's like, oh well, I know Arsena as a performer, and I've seen her show, and I know this chunk of her journey, and I know this chunk of her story, and I know this much about her as a person, but the extent of what I know about her is as the person who I'm paying to, show up for and support, and hear her perform, and I'm here to be poured into by her. And that's usually like the extent of what our audiences have from us. One of the things that I have been trying to do with each guest who I have here is kind of like pull back like another layer. You know what I mean? Like, one of the questions I like to ask is like, what's something about you, Arsena the person, that you would like your audiences to know about you and who you are? Something that they can apply to when they do support you, when they do, show up to hear you, when they do show up to see you, when they do, pay to see a virtual concert. Like, what's a connection point that's not often made, that you would like to give people?
I don't know. You might have to give me an example, but what comes to mind is just my mission in the beginning, which is just to inspire and empower people. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that's good.
So many people, and I try to make sure it's harder, easier said than done, especially being in my 30s now, but I've always tried to be an example of living fearlessly and living life how you want to. Yeah. So the track I was on before, going to school, and I had all the scholarship money, and I was going the PhD route for who knows what profession. I'm just doing it just because that's what you do. And I really just hope that I instill in other people to have that courage to just take a chance on yourself, bet on yourself. Easier said than done, because there are times that are low, but then the highs are highs. The lows can be low. And so I'm hoping that I serve as a mentor in the way that I approach what I do, so that people know, oh, okay, I don't really have to live out a life the way that people expect or that's charted out for me. If I lean into who I am and my gifting and how I'm wired and really soak that up. There are times, especially around the time of sleep talking, or during my introduction today, you said so organized. There were times around that time I really resented that about myself. I'm like, why creatives aren't organized, and it's so frustrating, But now I'm like, no, that's who I am.
Absolutely.
And this is a tool that I've been given to help me to live sustainably and to have abundance. And so that looks different for each person. It doesn't have to be business, organization. Everyone has a gift. Scripture says, your gift will make room for you. So I just try to make sure that I'm doing that, so that it's an example to the people that are supporting me and buying my music as well. They walk away knowing me as an individual, keeping it real, keeping it authentic from my music, and that they know that this journey is not easy, but I'm committed to it.
Yeah, no, that's dope.
Yeah.
So how much trade-off is there for you personally? Like, how much trade-off is there between Arsena the artist and Arsena the person? Like, outside of all of your artistry, not just the performance aspect, but outside of everything that you do, as a creative, like, how much trade-off is there for you personally? Not like for everybody else. Like, obviously as creatives, we use our personal lives to influence and impact and to help shape us as creatives. But I don't feel like it's talked about often enough how much that trade-off goes both ways. Like, one thing is like the identity aspect of it. Like, I heard Ice Cube did a interview where he talked about there's an immediate difference in how he responds if somebody says, "Hey, yo, Q," you know what I'm saying, as opposed to if somebody says, "Oh, Shay," you know what I'm saying. Like, there's a completely different response you'll get. Like, it influences who you're talking to. But for like a creative like yourself,
right,
like, you're Arsena on both sides.
That's why I don't know the question, because there's no difference. There's literally no difference.
Like, you're Arsena on both sides, and obviously, like, your personal life has shaped like who you are as a creative. But how much of your creative life has influenced like your personal growth?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So
or
much.
like, or how you see life, or how you live life as a person. Like, how much takeaway does Arsena the artist give to Arsena the person, as Arsena the person is walking through like everyday life?
Yeah. So my music is freaky all the time, because I will go back and listen to my songs and I'm like, ooh, I was talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My subconscious or whatever. So there's not really much difference. I think that's the new age of the music business now. Is back in the day there was the facade, there's MJ, Michael, and then there he talked, hi, how you doing? And then behind the scenes he's like, what's up? You know, no, there's no trade-off now, at least for me, and I think that's what people want to see is authenticity. However, I had to be honest with this album and talking about evolving and the metamorphosis of how I wasn't really being transparent about every area of my life in the past. So, and a lot of that had to do with so many different influences, just being a woman, being a woman of faith, and trying to practice my faith in like Christian environments that really stifled my expressions. So they were pure expressions back then, but they were still stunted in a way. So with this project, I've been very vulnerable and very transparent, because that's what I need as an individual to be able to live life freely and not having these separate pockets, if that makes sense. So my art is exactly verbatim about what's going on in my life, and it's evolving. The EP that I'm experimenting with now is more fantasy, but no, most of the art that I create is to help and heal me, which I hope overflows to other people. So even today, I'm like, this feels so good to be singing, and just this is for me, but I'm glad y'all are here. You know. So.
It's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For stopping through and hanging out with us for a little bit. Tell people what you got coming up and where they can find you, all the social stuff, and what they should be wanting to look out for.
Those coming up, and like I said, I'm working on a holiday project right now. If I didn't mention, that's my experimental project. I always say every Christmas, like, oh dang, I wanted a Christmas record, but it's too late. You got to work on it soon. So I'm like writing stuff right now by the pool, like la la la, in the middle of the. It's 90 degrees. I'm sweating, like jingle bells. And I love that for me. So that's what I got going on.
You gotta write California Christmas songs.
I already know that when Christmas hits, y'all gonna be like, she did not write this during Christmas time. Like, I already know, but that's just what it is.
Yeah,
keeping it real.
It's all good. You writing Christmas Island songs. It's all good.
It is very much that. One of them is an Afrobeat type of.
I like it.
See, you already know.
I like it. Christmas Island. # Christmas Island. Let's get it. That's it for today. Oh yeah, your socials, your Instagram, Facebook, all that.
Yes, Arsena Music, ARSENA Music is my Instagram. My website's arsenamusic.com, and you can find everything there. And Facebook is Arsena Music with a K. And I'm on Instagram all the time, so that's the best place.
Word.
Yeah.
Word. Well, we didn't get into it today, but Arsena's older cousin, who y'all know as Arsenio Hall.
Lies.
You know what I'm saying? That's her famous cousin.
That was actually my first drummer's cousin. It really is his cousin.
For real?
Yeah, so he's heard my music, but we are not related at all.
Arsenio, she related, man. Y'all gotta do some searching. So we'll find out. We're going to dive into that next time. Thank y'all for tuning in for another edition of Sessions on 16. As always, it's Tim Scott. It's been such a pleasure to have you, Arsena. And I will talk to y'all next week. Take care.